Hey, 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 how you all doing today? I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Welcome to another episode of WTF Talks, where we talk about what it is to work hard, tell the truth, and finish the job. Today, we have Wendy Brand with us, who's a culture specialist, and she's going to talk to us about how to build culture in businesses and tell us about some of her own WTF stories. But Hannah, what else should we tell the group as we jump in this morning?
Stay tuned and hold on. But I think we should give Wendy an opportunity to do an introduction and just say hello and
That's what
introduce
we should do
yourself, and then
next.
we can probably drive right into it.
Great. Wendy,
Awesome.
would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I would love to. Thank you. Thanks for having me so much. First of all, I'm so excited to get to visit with you guys. Hannah has been on my show, and Dave, you're coming up on mine. So I know I'm so excited. But just quickly, I mean, just the high level with me. I had some pretty heavy hitting leadership roles from a very early age, from the NCAA Final Four to the COO of the WNBA Houston Comets, just some really big leadership roles early on in my career, pivoted into tech and took a couple steps back, but that's actually where I learned about culture. And then went to work at a large retail restaurant chain where I led learning and development. That was my last corporate role about 3 years ago before I left my corporate world, running learning and development for a large restaurant chain with over 100 employees, opening new restaurants. Burned out pretty severely and started my own business to really help organizations understand the value and how to create an intentional culture so that you can have the workplace that you desire, because every organization has a culture. It's just whether you're intentional about it or not.
That's amazing. So I really want to dive into that, but first, tell me how great it is to throw off the shackles of a big corporate job.
OMG. So good. I mean, and honestly, it's one of those things where it wasn't, I wish I wouldn't have let it get to that point, because I don't like to burn bridges. I don't, and I burned a bridge because I was so burned out that I just had to leave, like Johnny
Okay,
on the spot. I was out.
sure.
And I
Mm.
left my team. So I did it the wrong way. But that's why through the last 3 years, the introspection that I've done of what could I have done differently, what was my role in my burnout, and what was the role of the organization, and really
Sure.
understanding, how others could do it better.
Sure. Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. That's a very nice tell the truth moment right there.
Yeah.
Like just being honest about yourself and a time where you made a mistake. It's easy to get burned out and not know it. And yeah, like and burnout's an increasingly admitted thing. I don't think it's any more prominent today than it was 20 or 30 years ago. I just think people today are more attuned and aware, and there's more space for admitting those things. And I think
Hmm.
that that's all very healthy. And so as we get into culture and stuff, we want to talk about that. Hannah, you have a question.
I have a couple. Well, I want to go back and ask Wendy about specifically, and I'm just going to say it before we go back to it so I don't lose it because I'm curious about what you just said as well. But you went from the WNBA to tech, and tech is where you learned about culture. That was the statement that blew my mind. And like in a team, in a world class organization, hoorah, we're all in this together, nothing. And then you go into the tech industry, and that's
Right.
help me understand that. That sounds so backwards to me.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, and even being I was the executive director for the NCAA Final Four. The championship games were in my hometown in '02 and '04, so going back a ways. And then moving into the WNBA to be the um, chief operating officer of that for that team, the business operations. I was on the side and all of those elements on the business side, not on the team side. And so the team itself was phenomenal. It was what was happening on the back end. The culture wasn't, it was
Very true.
separate. Yeah. And
Mm.
so, what they were so focused, they being us, the corporate, um, was focused on ensuring that the team had everything they need. They weren't worried about the people that were supporting the team. And
Sure.
so, right. So when I look at culture, it has to be integrated across for all employees, right? All employees um, need to benefit from that. But what the tech company did so well, they were so intentional. The CEO that we had was so transparent about what was happening. And this was like, I got there in 2007, when right before all the banking, the bubble burst. And I was there when we went public. I was there when we went private again and we went public again. So lots of transformations. The organization grew. And through it all, one particular CEO was very intentional about our core values. They were integrated across everything we did. Everyone knew what they were. We knew our mission. We knew where we were headed. Even with finances, with banks crumbling, we understood how much cash we had in the bank. Like and at the time, I really took a step back. I was a project manager. And so I wasn't in a leadership role, but I still had visibility to how the company was doing financially. I'm sure whatever sure there's lots they weren't telling us, but what they could share with
Sure.
us legally, they were sharing. And it just created an environment where we were all in it together, like, one team. Um,
Mm.
and
Right.
that felt different to me than it had in previous roles.
Sure. Sure. That
So
totally makes sense. Wow.
curious.
That transparency is a big deal. And I like in a small business, I don't know how to do that.
Mm.
Like it in a larger, do you see that with your clients and the people that you talk to? That in big business, it's easy because it's not really my money, but in a smaller business, it's like, hey, Bill, I'm short for groceries this week. Can you hook a guy up?
Well, I think what I try to work with my clients on in small business is really connecting the employee with the mission of the organization. And if they understand the work that they do, how it ties in to where you're headed as a leader, where you're trying to take the business, I think you can share. I think it's important for them to understand that the work they do pays their salary. I mean, it's gonna it, and it's gonna help you put as the CEO or founder put put dinner on the table. So I think everyone understanding what their role is in that. I think it helps. I mean, you don't ever want to let your employees know if you're struggling to make payroll. I mean, but
Right.
transparency to a level that like we need to increase sales because it's going to impact everybody here,
Right.
so then
Yeah.
everyone's got skin in the game.
Sure.
Yeah, you don't want to create this sense of like scarcity or fear in them in the
Right.
sense of like we're all hunting to eat tonight. But yeah, that's really interesting.
Right.
But and then
And
go ahead.
go ahead, man.
I was gonna take us back to the other question that I had. So you go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I was gonna say is it's often that you get to that transparent level when things are really good.
Mm.
And everyone who's owned their own business understands that over a 10-year cycle, you're going to have 2 good years, 2 really bad years, and 6 years that are like, yeah, I don't know. And so like on the 2 good years, you're like, oh man, I want to share, and then should I share, and how much do I share, and then you follow up into a difficult couple of years, and you're like, oh man, I'm better not telling them that.
Yeah.
And there's because like that's what business owners do. Like
Right.
that's why this isn't for everyone. And
Right.
I've been
Yeah.
often um, too immature in my thinking that my passion for being self-employed is something that everyone should have. Everybody should want. No, not everyone should want it because some people shouldn't handle the stress that other people do.
Yeah.
Um, so sorry, Hannah, go back to you.
No, you're good. With that note, I'm curious from both of you. You had said right before that the concept of burnout is no different today than it was 20 years ago, but that we're just being more transparent about it now. Pardon me. I'm just curious if Wendy feels that way or not, or if, like, in my brain, and obviously I wasn't here, I wasn't working, I don't understand the difference and how that lays over. And maybe what I'm thinking about is 30 or 35 years ago and the difference between, but I don't understand how technology couldn't have escalated this, how the work from home model couldn't have made burnout so much worse, because there isn't an opportunity to turn off. Like, I get messages from people on Sundays. I respond to messages on people on Sundays. Like, I happily will do that, perhaps not from the church pew, but most certainly 5 minutes after service is over to be like, yo, what are we doing now? And so it's like, if we truly don't have that separation, and that's like the most sacred spot I can think of to create that kind of like separation of what you would or wouldn't do. But with that always there and always on your hip, does that not create more of a sense of burnout? Or perhaps, Dave, because you're coming from, I've always been a business owner, this is how I live my life, I am always on it, doesn't matter, and it's never mattered whether I had my cell phone because my mentality has always been there. Perhaps it hasn't changed for you at all because your brain is just what your brain is. But for the general worker, do you think that it has or
So
no?
I'll say, and you guys, I think you talk a lot about generational workers, and I'll
Mhm.
say, as a Gen Xer myself, Dave, I know that. I mean, I think we just were built to push through and work hard. Like, I've like a workhorse. Like, I mean, that's how I've always seen myself. Like, I just get stuff done. And so throughout my career, continuing to push like that, I think what I'll say about, so I always work, always when I ran the Final Four, I pulled all-nighters, all the way back to 98. I was on staff for the men's Final Four in 1998, pulled all-nighters to get it done. Like, that's just the type of worker that I was. And I was a lot
Mhm.
younger, and so I was able to find that balance. I went out more with, I was burning the candle at both ends. But I will say what I do think happened with COVID was a reality check of how hard we were pushing. So I think it gave everybody an opportunity to step back and take a deep breath. I mean, yes, I was working a lot at home, but I also took walks. I also, I don't know, there was that more integrated, because I could do a load of laundry in between calls, or my life was way more integrated, and I saw could how I could be productive and be doing my laundry at the same time. And so I think there was kind of a veil that was lifted of, we don't have to be in this building 9 to 5 to get this stuff done. And um, while there is definitely value in it, it really, I think it lifted the veil, let others see what was possible, and then it made it more difficult now to be in this place where
Mm.
we're trying to go back to the old construct. So, to answer your question in a long-winded way, I do think we are being asked to do more now. Um, Technology has given us a lot of tools to allow us to work faster. Um, but that's a double-edged sword, I think.
Mm.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure it's a double-edged sword. Um, like technology just takes and takes and takes. And like I can't tell you the number of times this weekend I wanted to throw my phone because I was being asked for another password and another secondary authentication. But that's because I'm old and I'm dumb, and I have tried to avoid allowing Apple to create my passwords for me and giving up all control of my life. Um, but I'm succumbing to it. But I think that Hannah, your statement was really interesting, because I've always been self-employed. Like, in the first 10 years of being married, I tried to be employed by people. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't. I've been fired from every good job I've ever had. I've been fired from bad ones too, but definitely from every decent job I had, I got fired. Um, and what I've learned is that some people are just wired differently, and I'm certainly one of those people. And I need to turn into that oddity and make the most of it, as opposed to shaming myself for it or feeling less than or different than. Like your big experiences at corporate jobs is like, so I'm so envious of that, because I would love to have a story where I've climbed the corporate ladder and but like nobody could stand me long enough to do that. Um, and I really thrive in one-on-one relationships with business owners who are willing to go deep and don't want to stand on like this surfacey relationship. Like the Blue Jays won last night, and I'm super excited about it. And my Packers won yesterday. I'm super excited about it. And I'll talk to anyone today who wants to talk about it. But um, like that's like this thick, and I want to talk to people about real things, and sometimes in business that's hard to do. I think that the technology is making us all work harder, and one of the things that we've done as Gen Xers is we were not mentored by baby boomers. We were mentored by the greatest generation. And the greatest generation went to war. They did things, they overcame things. And so our visionaries and idols in industry are people that changed the world. And then as extras, we were up against these baby boomers, and there were so many of them that we believed we had to work harder to achieve the same things that they were achieving.
Mm-hmm.
And then we wanted to make our kids' lives a lot easier, and we became helicopter parents while we were working hard because we're just freaking grinders, the whole group of us. And so we've made the Gen Zs that are there, and have helped them become more aware of themselves. And as a result of that parenting, we've become more aware of ourselves. And so we talk about our burnout easier. Does that make sense?
100%. I mean, to me, it does as a parent. And yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
So
Interesting.
one thing that I learned after I burned out and I took some time, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have anything lined up. Um, and I just started researching burnout. And I came across this book by Christina Maslach. She has been researching burnout for decades, and she shared that there's six things that are mismatches between the employee and the employer that cause burnout. And so it really helped me to understand, there were things I could have done differently. I should have set better boundaries. I should have raised my hand when the workload was more than I could handle. They kept giving me more and more, and I kept saying, yeah, sure, I can do that, just taking it all on because, I was trying to climb that ladder. Um, so there were things that I could have done differently. But what I learned through that research, that there are things that an organization can do to help their employees to create that environment where employees don't burn out, or you at least give them an opportunity to not burn out, right? If I do it on my own, that's on me. But the six things that kind of go that um, that counter what Christina Maslach came up with. Um, I've come up with this framework. It's called Thrive. And the T is tribal values. So if you have core values if you make those values um, visible to the employee from the time that you are just attracting talent, in the interview process when you're hiring them, so you're transparent about what you value as an organization, it gives the individual an opportunity to say yes or no. Or if they accept the job, knowing what those values are, um, maybe they're doing it because the pay is good, but maybe they're really maybe the organization is a very religious organization and they're not religious, but they take the job anyway because it's really good pay. They're stepping into that knowing, having that awareness. And so the organization has done their part by saying, here's who we are. We'd love to have you, if this aligns with you. So tribal values is the T. The H is helpful processes and systems. Now, I don't think you have to have every process defined, but when it's not clear who is responsible for what, people would just want to do the right thing. Employees just want to help they just want to do a good job. And so people start stepping up and stepping on each other's toes. It creates chaos and lack of clarity in the workplace. So creating helpful processes and systems is really an important piece. R is the responsive listening strategy. And so that is making sure that you're listening to your employees and changing the things that you're able to change. Now, we all know that sometimes employees ask for things that, they would ask for the moon if they could. And so the responsive listening strategy is listening to what they want. And the responsive piece is going back and saying, we heard you. These are the 2 things that we can do. But these 5 things, I'm sorry, it's not something we can do at this time. So just making sure that you're having that open line of communication so that they feel heard and understood. The I is inclusive, inspiring inclusivity. So making sure that everyone feels like they belong, and that can be done. I mean, even little things as simple as, I think for larger businesses can have like employee resource groups, but smaller businesses, things like even just doing a strengths assessment or DISC assessment. So people kind of I know that it's a little shallow, but it's like, here's who I am. Here's what it looks like for me to do good work, and then understanding each other as peers. The V is visible career development. And so that's one of the top things that employees say that is missing in their organization is understanding how they can move up or advance or at least get personal development in their organization. So having that visible career development. And then the E is empowering rewards and recognition. If you are not I know, especially with small businesses, it's so easy for that pay equity to get out of whack because you hire somebody and then, you hire someone else 2 years later and they're coming in at a higher rate. And then in small businesses, especially, people talk. And so to the best that you can create a situation where there's pay equity, or you're paying at least market rates, that's empowering rewards and recognition and recognizing employees when they are doing things that align with the core values. So you didn't ask for that, but I just thought I'd share.
I love
it. Yeah, I definitely didn't want you to stop as soon as you gave us the thrive. I was like, well, keep going.
The clarity piece that you get from responsive listening is really important. And it's honestly something that I'm not good at in business. My wife and I are really good at it. In when we fight in marriage, it's always been a really important thing for us to take time to, okay, we're not on the same page. Let's get on the same page. You share what you're thinking with me while we're holding hands. And then I'll tell you what I heard. Yeah. And so if what I heard isn't the same thing as what you said, and it's really hard to yell when you're holding hands. Like when you're close, we contain our emotion a bit, and so most people would call what we do as fighting. But
don't hold hands with your employees.
Probably
no.
But I'm curious, what do you think, Wendy? You're like, not favorite necessarily, but if you just gave somebody this list and they're like, whoa, smacks, like, what do I do with this now? Where's the first place to start? Where does a person go from here and go, okay, if I can wrap my arms around one thing today or this week or this month, which one is going to be the most effective, do you think, to start with?
The values, integrating core values. And I didn't go into a lot of detail, but the tribal values and integrating them, it's in the hiring guide, it's how you hire, it's in the performance assessments, it's in even if you have to let somebody go, or it's in every what I call culture touch point or the employee life cycle, right? That those core values are integrated into how the organization is run. I believe that's what creates the intentional culture. So like I said at the beginning, like everybody has a culture, but if you as the founder or the CEO want to have some control over I say in quotes, air quotes, over the culture. It's really using those core values as levers in those culture touch points, I think is how you make it intentional, at least.
Sure.
I love that.
Well,
So, touching on some of our core values, we talk all about the WTF, and so I'm curious if do you have you can start with anything, the W, the T, or the F, if one specifically comes to mind before the others. But do you have any stories that kind of fall in line with whether they're at corporate, whether it's as you're starting your own, perhaps in different
Mm.
consulting situations where the W on work hard has really like stuck out to you as something that is really important, or perhaps it's the opposite when you take yourself back to the burnout moment and you're like, oop, I've been doing this, reality check, I need to go save
Yeah.
myself for a second. Like when I give that W, what is kind of the first story that comes to mind for you?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It was a transition for me to go from what I learned about myself was kind of that whole thing about how much of the burnout was my own fault. I left the corporate world, stepped into running my business, and did the exact same thing. I'm
Mm,
working, I'm getting up at the crack of dawn, like it's dark outside. My husband at dinner time is like, "Do you want this at your desk?" Or, like, "What are you going to come eat?" Or like Dave's putting his hand over his face. Yeah.
he
So
knows
I
it.
had,
He's there.
yeah, yeah. So I had to, look myself in the mirror and say, okay, if you're going to talk about burnout, you got to learn how to not, so the working, but it's also not, you know, rolling out of bed at 9 a.m. and at 3 o'clock checking out, because I can't build a business that way either. So
Mhm.
it's finding that what works for me. I do need to take walks. I do need to make it to the gym. I do need to get at least 7 hours of sleep, like the things that are basic for my health and my sanity. I do need to do something other than work. Like, um, my husband's teaching me to play guitar right now. Like I have to, and it's like I want to do it, but I'd rather work. I'd honestly rather work than do anything else. And
Mhm.
so,
Mhm. I
so it's,
I totally get that.
yeah,
It's because it's fun. It's what you
it
love.
is, it is. But I
yeah.
But
do
those
think that you
moments.
have to have, that can't be my whole life. And so I'm really forcing myself to do different things, learn different things. I think it just makes you a better human too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been talking with my husband about like he just is really bad at drinking water. And so we've been talking about like drinking water, making sure we're going outside every single day, like all of those fundamental, silly, very basic things that everybody
Yeah.
tells you to do, and just how hilarious it is that after you start doing them, you feel so much better. It's like,
Yes.
dang it, I saw the sun today for 5 minutes and like I don't want to crawl in bed anymore. Like it's wild how that works. But that's really good. Do you have any tips or suggestions for people around how you kind of found what worked for you? Because it's going to
Mm.
be different for everybody, but how did you like start that mental switch? Because like what you said, and I'm sure Dave and I relate to it in the exact same way. Like, I love what I do. It's so much fun. But also it's so important to stop. Like, how did you kind of make that pivot?
Tried a lot of things. I listen to podcast when I live kind of 45 minutes from town, so anytime I have to drive somewhere or if I go on a walk, I'm always listening to some sort of biohack or something, on a podcast that I can do. But the way that it's really about awareness and being aware of your thoughts. And you're the only one. I was talking to my sister this weekend and she was trying to start working out again and she wasn't going to the gym, and she realized she's single and she was just in her apartment and she was like, "You're the only one here. Like you're the only one keeping yourself from going to work out. Like there's nothing stopping you." And it's really just a mind game. It really is just having that awareness that and just pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, because when I'm working and I'm in a flow state and I usually let myself finish what I need to finish, but I do kind of set um sometimes I have to set a timer. Um but I can't let the day end without going for my 2 mile walk, for example.
Mm,
I could go months and not do it, but I've started to just tell myself, like, you every day you have to do that 2 mile walk. It's not a lot to ask. Like you said, otherwise I'm just sitting, just haven't even been outside all day. So it's just having the awareness that you're the one in control, and you get to make your life what you want it, and just do it.
Right.
Easier
Love
said than
that.
done, right?
Yeah.
Certainly.
Bob Newhart's code of counseling. Stop it. Right?
Yeah.
That's bothering you? Stop it.
Stop
I had
it.
a doctor like that once. Oh, my shoulder hurts because I do this when I'm driving. He's like, well, stop it. I'm like, that's easier said than done, actually. But it's not. It is a mindfulness. It's like making, and we're approaching now, like the shortest weeks of the year are just ahead of us,
Mhm.
and darkness is going to fall on everyone. And it's important that you get out and you see the sun. And it's important that you walk. My wife has started saying to me, what's more important than your health, David? And when she gives me David, I know that's time to listen. So yeah, that's a really good one. I really like that. Yeah,
I
thank
was
you
just
for
talking to
sharing
one of my
that.
friends yesterday about the concept of she's trying to cut back on caffeine and blah 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 whatever, and she's like, but I just don't see myself as an authority figure in my mind. Like I tell
Mm.
myself that I'm gonna do that, and then the second I'm offered another coffee, I immediately want it. Or the second I'm offered another, her thing is Diet Coke, as many young girls love right now. But it's just the concept around like I don't see myself as an authority figure. So even though that's something that I inherently want, it doesn't mean that I'm like strong enough or I value my own authority enough to actually offer myself the
Mhm.
discipline of what that looks like. And so that's just like such an interesting tie of those two
Mhm.
things. So,
Yeah.
but
Do you think?
before, yeah, go ahead.
No. That's a hole I could walk down to for a week. Go on to your
Okay.
next question.
Okay, wonderful. We're just going to roll right to the T for WTF talks, tell the truth. I mean, all of these things, the WTF, all fall into the same concepts of intentionality, integrity, and intensity. So I think that
Mhm.
you've used the word intentionality a ton through this conversation, just like how you're pulling it through. And that really ties back to the WTF. But is there anything for tell the truth that stands out really heavily in your brain?
Yeah, when I started at that tech company, actually I did 4 years, and then I left to run a company with my husband, and I went back. And then when I
Okay.
came back, a different boss, I had a new leader. Someone new had hired me to roll out this large project, and um, so I wasn't new to the organization because I knew people in the company, but it was a new role and a new boss for me. And he was telling me what I was going to be doing on this project. And so I started talking to other people in the organization. And he had told me that another leader owned the project. And everyone that I was talking to was saying that my boss owned the project, and that he wasn't doing very well at it, that he was, just slacking, like wasn't leading the team very well, like all this stuff about my boss. And I had just come back, and it was his team that I was on, and I wanted to be successful. And I just thought, I need to tell him, like, he's my boss. I don't know how this is going to go. I didn't know him from before. He was newer to the company, had come on since I'd left. And, but
Mm.
I just went to him and I said, because he said something in a meeting like that when so and so starts running this project better. And I said, well, I think everybody thinks that you own the project. And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, you own the project and you're responsible for the budget and you're supposed to be leading these meetings and everyone's saying you're not. He's like, oh my God. And he was so grateful for me telling him because he had no idea that he was the one that was supposed to be. So he was getting a bad reputation in the organization, but because I was honest and came to him and said, here's what I'm hearing, even though it could have gone sideways if he would have had much of an ego, or I didn't know if he really thought he was supposed to be running it and he was just blowing it off. You know what I mean? And so
Hmm.
he thanked me later, like a couple years later, he was like, that one time when you came and told me, he said, you probably saved my job at that organization just by telling me what you were hearing. And so I don't know if that's the kind of truth you're talking about, but it felt like a big deal at the time, and and he really appreciated it.
Wow.
Mm. Yeah,
That's
those.
really good. And that's such a hard thing to do in those moments, particularly when you're new at the organization.
Yeah,
You don't have relational equity with the person that you're sharing it with. It's
right.
just like, hey, this is a new guy. I'm either gonna build it or I'm gonna burn it. Those are the only two options that are gonna
Yeah.
happen. So good for you to step out and do that. That's not easy. How do people know, or is there just a central truth around when and why to do that? What would your take be on when should you definitely do it, and what's the why behind when you should definitely do it?
I think there, I I must have felt some sort of a little bit of psychological safety. Like I don't think I would
Okay,
have just um I don't know. I had to have felt like he had built some trust. I had built some trust with him that he was going to be accepting of it. And so I think as leaders, it's important to, you know, build that trust with your employees, let them know that you're a safe place when, for business discussion, things
sure,
pertaining to work. As an employee, um, I think there is an integrity piece to it at some point. I could have just gone on and not said anything. I don't know that it could have hurt my job in the end, and maybe I was worried about that. So I guess I would just say, um, I also think it was a gut feeling that I felt like I needed to do it, and I usually think that if you trust your gut, um, if it's worked for you in the past, if you've gotten good at listening to your instincts, then go with it.
The
sure.
way that you just didn't say, if you have a horrible gut, don't do that. Like, you
Yeah.
get yourself in really bad situations by
Yeah.
following your
Don't.
gut. Like, maybe not this advice.
Yeah.
Right. There was
Typically, if it's worked out well for you.
in my 30s, there was a business coach that I was familiar with. He was working with some of my clients, and so I took an introductory meeting or two with him, and I may have even given him a little bit of money to help me, which would be rare in my 30s. But he was like all about your gut. And I was like, I got to get away from this guy. I can't handle all this ooey gooey, like feel it, do it.
Yeah.
And that was in my 30s. And in my 50s, I'm like, oh man, if I don't feel it in my gut, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And so part of it is reps. Is
Mm.
I've done a lot of things and I've had those experiences, and so I have a greater sense of the likely outcome of it based on experience, which you really just tied to your gut, which I really appreciated. But if you don't have any reps, maybe don't trust your gut
Yeah.
as all inclusive and get some wise counsel around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so when I was looking for wise counsel, this guy was like, "You are the wise counsel," and I was like, "No, I'm an idiot, and I know I'm an idiot. I need smart people around me. If you're not smart enough to tell me I need smart people, I don't want you around me."
Yeah,
So
that's a great point. Having mentors, having people that you can trust, that you can go to, having a best friend at work. They say that really helps with engagement. And I probably went and talked to a friend first. That now that you say that, like I probably went to my best friend and was like, they're saying these things about James. Like, what do I do? I mean, having someone to kind of talk things through is great.
a
So
confidant's really
how,
valuable.
certainly, how do you do that as a self-employed person? Because are you independently? Do you have any?
Yes. Not yet, except my husband, who is working with me full time. Um, yeah,
Ooh, that's
yeah,
impressive. Good for you
yeah.
guys.
Well,
So
we'll
then,
see.
a
We're
built-in best friend already, I
yes, yes,
suppose.
yeah.
Okay.
No, it's been great, and we've worked together before. We do well together. I actually like him, so it's good.
Helps.
That's
Um,
good.
yeah, yeah. But I can't always, I do run a lot by him, but I have built, there are communities that I'm a part of other entrepreneurs, of other female entrepreneurs, that 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 I'm able to bounce things off of, that I meet with weekly just for an hour just to touch base, and that's been really helpful.
That's good. Just group
Wendy,
Yeah.
of
in
friends in.
in that line of thought, how do you find people that can still as experienced as you are, find people to mentor you in some things, and whether older or younger, that you can have mentors on both sides of that. And then how do you determine as a coach who to mentor and who to has to pay to be your friend?
Mm.
Because coaches are basically paid friends,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So on the first question, I'm always, my experience only gets me so far because everything changes every day, right? I'm always learning. I'm always growing. Like I'm building like 3 different things right now. And so I would be, I'm an entrepreneur now. So I would get bored if I just was doing what my experience has led me to. And so I think the mentors that I place around me are people that are doing things that I want to do, something that's different, or, learning the online space, building out an online community. I've built an online course, things like that, um, I've never done before, but have been a lot of fun. And then, who I mentor and who um, it is hard when you're starting out and you're trying to pay the bills. And, you know, a friend of mine got promoted and she's going to be overseeing culture, and she's never worked on culture before. She just got put into this job, and she's like, I need you. I need you to work with me. So I put together a bid and gave it to her. And she was like, yeah, we can't do this, like maybe after the first of the year. And then I texted her and I said, look, I'm your friend. Like, let's talk. I love talking culture. Like, let's talk culture. I can help you. But if you want to bring me into the business to help, I'm going to have to charge you. But so I think,
You want to go to
I'm
coffee, I'm
right.
okay. If you want me to
Yes.
come to a boardroom, you're going to pay me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Um, and the coaching too, like I just ran into a friend this weekend and he just lost his job, and I said, let's have coffee, let's talk through it. Like, I'm not going to coach him for the next 3 months, but I'm happy to have a conversation with him and help, you know, give him some guidance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
That's really
That's
good.
great. I have
That's good.
I have this session that I like to do with other business owners, and their management team or whatever they call it in their organization, where I talk through questions you can never ask the owner, and things that he can never tell you.
Mm.
That's just like so, and so sometimes the owner will stay in the room, sometimes the owner will leave the room, and I'll have the conversation both ways, and it's really a great thing. And like I love doing it so much that I'll get caught up doing it for nothing, but it provides real value to organizations. And so I'm not great at monetizing what I do. But I do love business and I love talking about it.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it's
with you.
always a challenge.
For sure.
So
But we are coming to the end of our time here. So before we finish us out, let's make sure that we get to the F for the WTF talks. Do you have any stories that come to mind for finish the job as a favorite story or top of mind story?
I mean, I think me leaving the job was not being able to finish the job. That was probably the largest example of not finishing something. But
Oh, I
finish,
would push back on you on that. I would push back on you on that. I feel like having
yeah.
the strength to say, this isn't it, this isn't for me, and
Mm,
I'm not going to serve them for what they're due and what they require, is actually finishing the job.
mm,
Perhaps in a way that you didn't necessarily
yeah,
want to, but I
yeah,
feel like I do feel like that is serving the company or the people that you were supporting in the best
yes.
way that you could, which was just to remove yourself. But
And
sorry,
I
keep going.
no, and that's a fair point. And I did, when I left, I just went into my boss's office at the end of the day and I said, I'm happy to give 2 weeks notice, but it's clear that I'd seen on her calendar, not to go into too much details, but I'd seen on her calendar that she was interviewing someone that she had worked with in her prior job in another company that did what I did. And
oh,
so I knew that she was looking at replacing me. She had given me no indication. When I'd asked for feedback, she had said the only thing she could think of the feedback that she could give me was that I needed to smile more. So that constructive feedback was
hey,
so helpful, that she was so I went into her office and I just said, look, and again, I had a team of 100 people. We had so many initiatives running, um and I said, I will give you 2 weeks notice, but I have a sneaky feeling that you are
you
gonna, as
need to
soon as I
Martha.
leave, as soon as I leave, you're going to switch what the team is doing. Like there's something that you're not happy with. And so I don't want to keep leading my team down this path that 2 weeks later, you're going to switch when I walk out the door. So I'd like to just walk out the door and you can take the team in whatever direction that you think they need to go. So,
Oh, sorry, can I
yeah,
interrupt you there, Wendy?
yeah.
That's such a humble play. Like, you
Mm,
managed that very well.
thank you.
Just from what you said, I just want to like honor you in that. Like, the ability to see something coming is hard. The ability to respond to it in a way that is kind to your staff and also um, to your boss and say, "Hey, look, I'm not going to be bothered by this. You've chosen a different path. I can see that you've chosen a different path. Let me encourage you to take your steps towards that path."
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. You did
And
that well.
um, if you want a little more of the picture of humility, it was October 31st and I was in a Halloween costume. I was a black-eyed pea, so I had a black eye and the letter P on my t-shirt.
Oh, hilarious. Oh my. And tell
Oh,
me
that's
that she
so
was a
good.
witch and you walked out of the office singing "Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead."
Oh my
Sorry, that's awful.
goodness.
I'm a horrible human.
That's so funny. Oh my
Yeah, so that
gosh.
was me. I guess, thank you, Hannah. That was me finishing something that I had really worked hard on and built for
Yeah.
4 years and needed to walk away from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. That's not an easy thing to talk about. It's not an
Yeah.
easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to be transparent about. But I think that people don't necessarily offer themselves all the grace that is due, specifically like what we talked about in this high driven world, or perhaps
Mm.
from your generation and the
Mhm.
combination of it all. And so, but I just wrote this thing the other day. And it was somebody, because I have this thing called the Wonder Workshop backstory, started the Instagram page for it, and I'm working on building my online community. So I've been responding to a lot of teachers and whatnot. But I was looking at a person's post, and it was a teacher who was like, I have these affirmations for my kindergartners, but I need my affirmations for high schoolers. How do I redo this for high schoolers? And something I wrote out, and it's, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but doing very well. Was just these high school affirmations, but a bunch of it was, I can do hard things and I can stop doing them. I can make
Mm.
my mind up and I can change my mind. And it
Mhm.
was something that I was writing for the high schoolers because they're going into this phase of choosing what they're doing post grad and choosing what comes after
Mm.
that. And everything always feels like it's written in stone or written in ink. But the beauty of life is that nothing is, and we can take a big step back and erase whatever we want if we decide that it's not the right fit. And I just don't think that people often enough have that perspective of, I can choose to do something, I can learn from being there, understand that it's not for me, and then uh, pivot or transition or whatever that looks like, which is exactly what you did. So,
I love
but
that. And well, yeah,
you
I
can
won't
go,
tell
go,
another
go.
long.
Oh, I feel like it's really hard for some people to, as you said, Hannah, give themselves the grace that they extend to other people. I have a counselor who's really working with me on that right now. But it's also like I can make a choice and I can change that choice. And that's so often as leaders, we get caught in a place where we've said something publicly, like on a podcast, and then we want to pivot and we're like, but can I pivot? And it's important that you be true to you and your best outcomes. And as a leader and a small business owner, or a large business leader, it's important that you do what's right for you and right for the organization. And what you shared in your exit story was right for the organization and right for you.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
that's a plot.
Yeah.
so good.
So yeah.
All right.
So
Well, do you
we
have
need to
any
give
other
Wendy a spot to
questions?
tell us what she does.
Yes.
And like, Wendy,
How people
sell
can
me.
find her? Yes, please.
Awesome. Well, I have a ton of free resources. And so my website is culturecoachwendy.com. And I have, for CEOs, I have a free mini course. It's on clarity, energy, and ownership. And then I have this community that I mentioned that I'm starting. And so as part of the free resources, I have a culture audit. It's just a checklist that you can go through. And then I have a webinar coming up in November. I don't know when you guys are airing this, but I've got a webinar series that you can also find out about on my website as well.
We'll get it up before then so people can find that for sure.
Awesome.
Sure. So culturecoachwendy.com to get free resources and to sign up for a webinar.
Yes.
Okay.
Amazing. What's the main topic or session title of the webinar?
Well, it's a 3-part series, and we're going to talk about clarity, getting clarity. And so it's clarity for any level leader, even if you're just an individual contributor, getting clarity on your own personal values and where you're headed. The second one is on energy, on how to protect your energy, and find, because your energy impacts other people as a leader, as an individual contributor. And then the final one is really creating your 2026 culture strategy.
Interesting. That'll be so good. Well, we're gonna start a webinar series soon. Don't tell anybody because we haven't made it public yet. But maybe we'll have you back as a speaker.
Awesome.
That could be really
Awesome.
cool. But
Love it.
thank you so much for joining us. It was such a great time chatting with you. And Dave, do you have anything for the people before we go?
Check out Wendy at culturecoachwendy.com and take the free resources, duh. And then secondly, watch out for more of this from Hannah and I. We're really excited about some of these, some people that we're bringing into our show where we've been on their shows, and there's going to be some great people like Wendy. So stay tuned for more.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. And as always, we will see you next time on WTF Talks.
Work. See you soon.